You don't even know about it, but the LGBTQ plus community contributes $2 trillion to the US economy. That's $2 trillion. So that money, so there's a lot of money to be made in business. Buenos días, Augusto Peñaranda, el CEO de la compañía Volver. Somos una organización de non-profit soportando a negocios que los dueños son LGBTQ. The project is called Project 530. 5,000 certified LGBTQ plus businesses by 2030. So 5 años, 5 years. It will cost $1.9 million to certify that many companies in 5 years. It's not easy because we just had the law that passed in May of 2024 that recognizes LGBTQ plus owned businesses. So basically, that's just like the women-owned, minority-owned, Hispanic-owned certification. It has to be 51% or more owned by that diverse group, and then you can certify. And certification means that you have more opportunities as a business in New Jersey to bid on state contracts. If you don't want to bid on state contracts, you can bid on municipal contracts at City of Trenton. And if you don't want to bid on city contracts, because you are now certified, private corporations sometimes go through the list and look for certified businesses. So there's advantages just on that. The financial is if you apply for a grant, which is money that you don't have to pay back to update your cash system, to update your website, to update the front part of your Main Street storefront. There's a number that's given to a small business in New Jersey. So let's say you apply for the grant through the NJEDA and it's $10,000. Great, you apply, you get it. But because you are also certified as a Hispanic business, you get $2,500 more. Wait, you're also certified as an LGBTQ plus business, you get another $2,500. So you see how certification can bring you not just opportunity, but it actually can bring you money. So that's why it's important to do it. And if you certify 5,000 businesses just for the LGBT community, then you become a force in all legislation regarding businesses. So, trying to improve, lowering taxes and business expenses, red tape for, certifications or bidding processes, you become part of the conversation. So it's important to be, included. And there's an estimated 50,000 LGBTQ plus owned businesses in New Jersey. So what we did, when I was part of the Pride Chamber, which is New Jersey's only LGBT chamber of commerce, we would do labs where we would invite everybody. So it didn't matter if you're women, if you're LGBT, Hispanic, Black, veteran, doesn't matter. We would certify everyone, which is a simple online process. You need 5 documents, which are the documents you need when you register with the state to do business in New Jersey. But you have to just submit them in a certain way online. And then if you don't have any error messages, then it automatically goes through. And then you get an email that says, congratulations, you're an SBE, small business enterprise. If you don't get that email automatically, that means something went wrong. But it's just 5 documents, all of which you use to get registered in the state to run your business. So it's nothing new. But there is a format that you need to present it. And if you have an outstanding balance or a debt or something that you haven't paid with the state, that's going to stop the system from certifying you. So that's why we do the labs, because the labs will then allow us to go through everything to make sure that it's clear. Because once you get the confirmation that you're an SBE when you finish hitting submit, then the other certifications will be in the mail 4 to 6 weeks later. And it's free right now. So I can honestly say that it is free for the next 6 months. I do not know if it will be free after January 20th, 2026. So Project 530, that's what it's called again. 5,000 LGBTQ plus owned businesses by 2030, but every other diverse community will come along. So we don't just do labs for LGBTQ, we do them for everyone. But we promote it to LGBTQ so they so they know that, you're going to be with other businesses in your community, and then you register. Like we did one in Elizabeth, and we have 45 businesses, and there was LGBT, women, minority, veteran, and they all knew each other from Main Street. So that's why we do it in a group. But the goal is 5,000 of just the LGBTQ plus. So the benefits are statewide.
Okay.
There is national LGBTQ plus certification that costs about $1,000, and that's done through the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce in Washington D.C.
Okay.
I do recommend national certification if your business does business outside of New Jersey. So if you do international trade, if you do cross country business, then the national certification would make sense. But that's an investment. That's going to cost you money, and it's a longer process. Sometimes it takes a couple of months, and then you have to wait. But if you have a business and you're a 51% owner and you're LGBT, then you might as well do it if you do national business. But you don't need to just for the state. Remember, 16 of the state's agencies procure I don't know, estimated 40, $50 billion a year in contracts. So that's a lot of money. And a lot of the businesses are, under 15 employees. So, you're not going to get that many national, but some are. But the state one is the easiest one to get, and because it's free, it makes more sense to get that one now. And it only takes you a couple of hours, as long as you have all the documents that you registered your business with. The one that has your EIN number, and your personal statement, and a couple of other documents that you will receive from the state when you open up your business. Those are the ones you use to certify. So you have to certify for each classification. So everyone registered as a small business enterprise, an SBE. Then, let's say you were a woman, a woman of color, then you would certify as a woman. Then you would do another application as a woman of color. And if you're a woman of color who happens to be LGBT. So basically what you could do is, you can click which certifications, and it should be able to repeat the same information, because it's all online. If you go to the New Jersey Treasury website, it's called Division of Revenue Certification Program, and you'll see it. They list every single certification that you can do. They're all there, and they'll walk you through. But if you don't want to do it alone, our labs will help you work with it. So, la compañía de Volver, lo que hacemos son cuatro cosas. Hacemos certificaciones estatal para todos los negocios de diversidad. Hacemos el mundial, tenemos la guía de recomendaciones para negocios para el mundial, y hacemos, ¿cómo se llama? Presentaciones de educación y ¿cómo se llama? Cómo buscar a resources para tus negocios. Y la cuarta cosa que hacemos es negocios internacional. We have partner LGBT organizations in Europe, mostly Europe and Canada right now, and they do trade with the United States on different levels. Whether it's merchandise, technology, services, even staffing personnel on some levels. So, but because Europe is more LGBTQ plus friendly, Canada is very LGBTQ plus friendly, but right now the United States is not. So, as United States companies are going away from DEI, they're not promoting. A lot of LGBT companies in the United States that do international business are having a hard time. So what we're trying to do is find a way to streamline it so the business can continue and grow without getting any negative feedback or being singled out by the current administration, because we want to make sure that the LGBTQ plus certifications is one thing, but business transactions are business transactions. It doesn't matter, if you're buying a car, you're buying a car. You're not buying the reputation of the LGBT person that sold it to you. So the whole idea is that we want to make sure international trade between LGBTQ plus businesses continues even in these difficult times here in the United States, because it's flourishing in Europe and Canada. They're very open, millions and upon millions of dollars in international trade happen. You don't even know about it, but the LGBTQ plus community contributes $2 trillion to the U.S. economy. That's $2 trillion. So that money, so there's a lot of money to be made in business. They used to call it the pink dollar, but that was that was more of a reactionary specific word used for the month of June. But companies that have grown up and are more mature when handling diverse businesses understand that you just can't say you want the pink dollar. You need to work with a company that has the product or service that you want. It just so happens that they're LGBTQ plus owned. But the business transaction is the business transaction. So that's what we're trying to focus on, to make sure that they don't lose opportunities because they have identified or are certified as LGBTQ. The current rules against DEI, which includes the LGBTQ plus business community, has affected us greatly. So the state of New Jersey has a lot of resources, especially for small businesses. Just people don't know that they're there, but they have the SBDC, the EDA, NJBAC. These are all organizations, agencies that are funded through the state and through the federal government that provide trainings, grants, opportunities for all businesses. However, since New Jersey has certifications for the different diverse communities, when they began to cancel DEI, they canceled the money. So organizations that work with the state and the federal government at the same time to provide services were given an ultimatum. You stop everything or you lose the money. And some organizations had no choice but to stop everything. That includes anything DEI, which includes anything LGBTQ plus. So you can no longer do any work with those communities. So yes, we have lost resources. We have lost trainers, we have lost funding, so it has had an effect. However, because New Jersey has 1 million businesses in the state and it's cushioned between Philadelphia and New York, there is opportunity to counterbalance the loss with private dollars. But it's not easy because corporate funds take a longer time because there's a process of interview and going through their protocol system, and they have to make sure that they are not dependent on federal money before they say that we're supporting an LGBTQ plus organization. So now everyone's on eggshells, but there are other ways to be able to help the community even in this environment. Well, so like we have the World Cup resource guide, which is basically recommendations, links on what a business can do, what artists can do, what cities can do to prepare for the World Cup, which is now 350 days away. So there isn't that much time, but an easy example is if you are a restaurant or a deli and you sell Coca-Cola or potato chips, Coca-Cola and Lay's, which is one of the main producers of potato chips, they have branded merchandise with the cup and the soccer balls and the players. For the FIFA Club World Cup, Coca-Cola had all the shirts on every can. So if you sell the product, you would want to order that product ahead of time to have it on all your freezers and everything. So you can see, people can come in and say, oh, World Cup merchandise, I want it, I want it, I want it. That's one of the simple recommendations. The other recommendations are artists. Everyone knows that if you go to Argentina, or if you go to Brazil, or if you go to Europe, there are murals of the superstars, Maradona, Pelé, and so forth. Well, the United States does have a couple, but not a lot. So you want to give artists the opportunity to paint the stars of the United States, the men's and women's national team, to paint, soccer themed or welcome world to New Jersey. So the guide, there's an app in which we want mostly diverse communities and businesses to interact. Like, come to my hotel, it's very welcoming, it's safe. Come to this restaurant, we're welcoming, we're safe, we're inclusive. These type of things. So the guide and the app are available now for everyone to go. You can go to diversechambers.org and you can download the app and the guide for free. But those are just a couple of things that we do. The one thing that Volver is focused on is in 2022, when the World Cup was in Qatar, they openly discriminated against any LGBT person. You could not wear a rainbow shirt. You could not wear anything that represented the LGBTQ plus community. So people were being banned from entering the stadium. There was an LGBTQ plus sports reporter that died mysteriously during the Qatar World Cup. Even though some people were able to get in, they discriminated against thousands of people in front of the world. And there were articles written about it, but not a lot of attention because people were concentrating on the World Cup. So now it's coming to the United States, Canada, and Mexico. So I have been promoting it's like I don't care who's president. If people want to walk into MetLife Stadium and they want to bring their country's flag, the U.S. flag, and the pride flag, they should be able to do so without anyone stopping them and taking it away or having them arrested because it's against the rules. So the only way that we feel that we can accomplish that is that the LGBTQ plus business community has to be part of the conversation. That's why the guide is part of the conversation. The app is part of the conversation. Our events, the countdown to the World Cup, part of the conversation. We are going to make it so difficult for anyone to consider to ban us or discriminate the LGBTQ plus community, that they're going to think twice before doing it. Even if the federal level bans it, there are rights within the state. So it happened in 2022. You can Google it. You can see all the articles. The death of the reporter who was LGBTQ plus, well known around the world. But we don't want that to happen here. It won't happen in Canada. It won't happen in Mexico because their promotion right now for the FIFA World Cup includes everybody. They have rainbow flags in all of their videos and stuff. But in the U.S., there's a couple that are coming out, but not a lot. So what's happening in the capital is having an effect. But I can't personally can't let that happen here for 2026.